the river that the water flows down over and over and over again.
You just said if I envision it, it happens.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm like, yeah,
That's
you're
exactly-
all these other
that's
things.
exactly
I'm thinking
it.
the same thing. But what if you can just start it with a small salary?
Because I can't even envision what that salary would be for.
Because see, here's your unique circumstances is that cope is a limb. It's a part of you. It's a part of you. And how on earth could I pay myself for operating my arm? How could I pay myself? Oh, look, my arm's working today. Here's another $10,000. It just doesn't make any sense.
What about the perspective of if you're not well and you're not at peace of mind with finances, how are you going to be at a greater purpose to serve cope? Mm-hmm. So if you're not healthy, you're no good to anybody.
Yeah.
Mentally, physically, all above.
Yeah. I mean,
so self-preservation is the preservation of cope. That's how I would look at it. I mean, look, Steve Jobs, I watched the whole thing on. He was a visionary. Mm-hmm. And he told his engineers, make this happen. Just like Henry Ford, I want the V8 block engine. Make this happen. Yes. It's impossible. I can't. He didn't know how, but he saw it. Yeah. He said, I don't give a shit. You want to work here? Make it happen. And they made it happen.
Exactly.
And everybody,
Exactly. So the point about how it got to where it is now, that's what I was saying about it being your arm, it's your body, it's your essence, it's you, it's your love, it's your everything. That's where you are. And exactly what Nathan is saying is about changing your reflection for what is to become. If you look through any organization in the charitable vein, they have paid staff and more than one person, and oftentimes the more people are drawing salaries for what it is that they're doing, the more abundance they bring in, because abundance breeds abundance. When you look at a pie and you see it as finite and you think that that's the way that what happens with cope is going to always be, when you slice that pie up, there's only a finite amount. But as soon as you say, well, it's not finite, it's ever growing. The more we have there, the more we will have there. Then that becomes the new magnetic energy. So if you say, you know what, next year I'm going to increase my feeling of abundance by not contributing or by contributing less. And then my 2-year plan is in the second year I'm going to draw a salary. Then you're going to be using your creative ability to envision things in the next 2 years to let that happen. You have to tell the world what to create. You have to tell the world and the universe what to manifest. And you've been phenomenal about what you offer to everyone that's associated with cope. I mean, you've nailed it. We've talked about for years about you going national with your foundation of your formula, but now it's time to take that same ability to envision and allow yourself to envision abundance. Sit down for 5 minutes and watch somebody walk in the room who has a ton of money and say, you know what, I want to donate $20,000 every year for the next 10 years. Like, all right, that's cool. Give me a high five. Just, if you don't mind, sign here. Just envision that you have subscription ways of donating where people are paying on their credit card quarterly, the same amount every quarter. And when that amount comes in, they don't even regard it because there's so many other things going on in their credit card. They're not paying attention to a $15 line item. And yet, you are creating it. You're creating revenue streams, and you can be excited about it. You can be very excited about it because abundance breeds abundance. There's no better example of abundance creating abundance than Steve Jobs. My favorite example really is Bill Gates. That when people are turning to Gates and they're critical about his greed and about his wealth, what I ask you to do is to look at the moment of inception when he had his first employee, and then count the numbers of years and the numbers of employees whose families have been raised, houses have been purchased, cars have been bought, college educations have been paid for. How many bags of groceries? How many bags of groceries is that? Mm-hmm. How many lawn service people? How many stamps? I mean, you can't even do the math. You can't even wrap your head around abundance breeding abundance. And we are, in our society, we collectively agree that that formula is not true for nonprofits. But that's not the truth. That's a man-made belief that it's not true for nonprofits. It can be and should be and will be, if you allow it to be, the formula for a nonprofit. People who work in nonprofits are taught scarcity. They're taught to think in terms of things being finite.
That's true.
They're not taught to think in abundance. But the same vision that you have for COPE and all that it's achieved and accomplished so far, you don't have to be a finance expert to envision abundance coming through other ways. One of the models that has come to me from the beginning of doing this work with guides is always having a profit and a nonprofit center for any kind of charitable organization. To not think of it as only giving, but to think of it as an opportunity to give and to receive. And if you're wanting to have a steady flow of revenue into the charitable organization, then generate the revenue. However it is, generate real revenue. You don't have to go out and ask for money. You give people something that they want to purchase, and the profit becomes the revenue stream for the organization. You don't have to think of it in terms of fundraising and we have to raise money and we have to get donations, and you can see it in a different light. You can see it differently.
What are you saying? Sell a product? Sell like
Exactly.
things?
Exactly.
What about like your camp? How you had the camps that you had, right?
Exactly. And it's about brainstorming. We've brainstormed a few ideas. Especially if you think in terms of recurring revenue. There are ways to provide recurring revenue that continue. That's the point of looking at it as a recurring revenue stream. So you're not getting, I got $3,000 here, I got $2,000 here. Last year he gave this much, but he was better off financially. Now, oh my gosh, we brought in donations of this much in 2007. Now look at 2009, after everybody's pensions are wiped out, we're getting 25% of what we used to get. How are we going to make up the difference? You've got your fixed expenses and you're always trying to cover your fixed expenses, and if something happens economically and people's donations are decreasing, then that affects you in a very big way. So the idea of a revenue stream is, it's not that hard to figure out something that people want, and if you connect it to something that they feel passionate about, like helping people who have lost a child, it makes it easier for them to give, okay? And you just have to give them the reason to give. And the other part of it, too, is that when you're giving people a reason to give, if you give them a reason to give in small amounts on a recurring basis, they feel constantly good about it. I for myself, if I had a $2.95 charge on my credit card bill every single month, and it went to something that I really, really, really cared about, I would never question that $2.95 again. I never would. I wouldn't question it, because there's no pain in it. There's only pleasure when I see that line item on the credit card statement. So think in terms of subscriptions, recurring benefits, and even using different opportunities to help people decide that they want to donate and to give. I set Jamie up on an exploration of Nancy Brinker, right? Mm-hmm. Read a book about Nancy Brinker. Reread The Road Taken. And Nancy Brinker is the founder of the Susan G. Komen Foundation, which is the number one, very first. Nancy herself always called it to me a designer charity. She termed it that. She didn't want that term to really get out because it sounds lewd, okay? But it's a designer charity. She turned giving into something that became chic, if you will. All right? She created the pink ribbon. She created the Race for the Cure. She did all of this, and she completely, profoundly changed our relationship with charity and giving, especially through 2008. There's been some 2001, there was a very big dip. and then another one after 2008. But she really is she is the brain behind all of it, all right? And so someone is buying Yoplait instead of Dannon, and every time they buy a thing of Yoplait, 5 cents goes to the Susan G. Komen Foundation. If a woman has ever known anyone in her entire life that had breast cancer, she's going to grab the Yoplait instead of the Dannon. All Nancy does, all she's ever thought about is to find ways to give people permission to hand over their money. It's one of the most profitable organizations in the world. And trust me, Nancy makes a lot of money.
Yeah, I was just gonna
A
say, if
lot
it's
of money.
What salary?
And you know what? She has a pretty good life, too. She has a very good life. Her traveling, her homes, her whole entire lifestyle is magnificent. She lives the way an incredibly wealthy person would want to live. All right, now am I saying that that's the path for you? I don't think that's you, Lily, and I don't think that you want that. But it doesn't mean that you can't be somewhere between where you are and where she is. But you can use that as a model to change. The key is to always replace a non-productive belief with a productive belief. Okay? We're looking at the non-productive beliefs, but you have to have a replacement in order to get rid of the one that is not working. Okay? Out with the bad, in with the good. Out with the old, in with the new. You know, I always love the expression, and, you know, as a business coach, it's something that comes up a lot. Don't come in here with a problem unless you have a solution. And don't come in here with a problem unless you have 3 solutions, and then we can have a conversation about it. So the whole point in looking at how you got to be where you are is so that you can find the non-productive parts of your foundation. You can chisel them out of that foundation, and you can replace them with strong and sturdy bricks that are going to support everything that it is that you want to experience and build. All right, let's shift to, and so now you can go back and look at your own list differently, okay? But, you know, part of having this class be something that's not a one-day seminar is because time is your ally. You need to have time to have ideas pop in your head, to have thoughts that you had not perceived before, to have openings where your guides can tap you on the shoulder and remind you of things that you forgot. You need time to let things grow. You need time to savor it. You need time to live within a new focus and within a new perception, rather than thinking that all shifting can happen overnight simply by knowing in your mind what change is possible. Living it is what you need. You need the time to live it. You know, Lily, one of the most intuitive things I've ever heard anyone say is that there's nothing random about what's going on with your uncle coinciding with this class. I mean, it's like, sometimes I'm like to the universe, it's like, do you have to be so obvious? Can't you add a little subtlety to this whole, the way the universe works thing for us? It's so obvious and so grand and so brilliant and so meaningful. The class didn't cause his issues at all, but in the magnificence of the universe, things will intersect. When someone has an intention to discover, they'll intersect in such a way that then when that person is ready to open up the gift that comes from that opportunity, the universe is going to provide you with the chance to open it up right then and there. You know, I don't know if it was 1973 or 2003 or the beginning of the first quarter of this year, but there was a moment where your guides knew exactly what was going to happen with your uncle and with his health. And then one of them came over to me and said, all right, let's do this wealth class. All right, let's launch it in the summer. I don't know if you guys remember. I went to launch it in the summer. I had 4 people who had signed up. Every one of them had to miss 2 classes. And I said, you know what? That's not right. I didn't feel good about that. So I canceled it. So what did I do? I relaunched it now. And if it weren't for like Mimi or someone, you wouldn't even be here. So it's so many guides managing so many people for you to have this experience at the same time. And, we're focusing on you, and it isn't about you. It's about that every single thing said here is applicable to every person
Yes,
in this
definitely.
room, I know that you would never.
It is.
I know it
Oh,
is.
no, it
Trust me.
is.
If there's anyone in this room that knows it, it's
That's
me.
why we're all so quiet.
Exactly. Yeah, and I do know. I'm intuitive. I'm intuitive. I know that the examples that I give to you are benefiting everyone. And as a matter of fact, I can almost feel some pops here and there. I can feel them. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have hardly looked at Anthony tonight. But I feel the popping with Anthony. I'm afraid that his brain is just going to sizzle in a couple of minutes because he's been popping like crazy. So what you're the example perhaps tonight, and your circumstances are so original that you might not think that they're applicable, but boy are they applicable. If I spent that much time on anyone else in this room, it wouldn't have any resonance with you. But your story can have resonance with everyone, which is why this is allowed to be this way.
Okay, Chris, can my brain explode now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I have two
Pop
pieces.
Just
Because
real
I have,
quick, you guys want to put the arrow on something?
Oh yeah, it is.
It's warm in here.
Holy moly, I didn't even notice. I am always oblivious, but you're right. It is. It is
because
warm
I have
here.
two pieces to this, and uncovering this list, and that I got down, I was writing this long list. I finally came to a point where it says enough is enough, done,
Yeah.
and I was just finished with whatever the lack or the shortcoming was in my life. Because shortly thereafter I wrote this, I realized that most of these things came from my youth and experiencing through different circumstances what always was hard to ask for, or was not there, or wasn't given even easily. That as I started to change my thinking, it became my two daughters. Because over the years that they've gone to college, when in no way, shape, or form was there going to be money to facilitate certain things for them, it's always come. And it's come from the strangest
Right.
last-minute arrivals. So 2 weeks ago, or the Saturday after the last class, I had to pay my daughter's tuition for not just the semester, for the entire year, because of the school she goes to. So I said to myself, well, I have the money. I said, here's what I want to do. I didn't want to give them a check. I gave them cash. And I had to feel that as I was giving that to them, because it was the love that I have for my daughter and what I get in return from her.
Yeah.
So that's the first part. The second part is, as I'm coming here tonight, I'm in the driveway, and part of what I want to speak about. There's a fellow that I coached college football a number of years ago, and he's a fellow who just recently had I think it was his liver donated. He had to get a liver transplant. So I was searching for his sister's phone number. Finally, I found it this morning. When I'm sitting in the driveway, I called him because they had a large fundraiser for him back in September, and in December. On the date of 12/1/12 at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's going to be a fundraiser for him. So the product that I'm now working with, I talked to his sister and I said, I need to meet with you and your brother. I says, I have an opportunity to share something that could generate the aftercare money that Dennis is going to need. So I'm sitting in this driveway and I'm listening to this and I'm saying, this is just incredible. This connection is just, it's so validated for me that I need to meet with them and make this a part of their reality.
It's so funny because it kind of punctuates the profit center for the nonprofit center.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Exactly.
One thing that I'm going to go off topic here for a minute. Each of you will have the opportunity, if there's something that you want to share, where you are providing a service or providing something for anyone, to share it with the group. Because one of the really good experiences in being with each other is to be able to practice making a presentation, nothing formal at all, 5 minutes of ways that you can put your product or your service forward for the availability of everybody else here, okay? So one thing we're going to do is I'm going to let Anthony have his opportunity to do that tonight, and over the next 2 classes, anything at all that you would like to share, even if it's not up and running yet, Nathan, it's okay. Just still share. Use it as a forum to practice, and we can give you a little bit of feedback. But we can also watch each other have the experience of what it feels like to have the opportunity to share, to put ourselves on the line, to open up and be a little bit vulnerable, to ask for something, okay? So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to continue our meeting, but we're not allowed to eat or drink in here except for water. So we're going to move our meeting into the other room because Anthony is going to share something with us that we have to drink, okay? Magic potions. It's going to bring money in for everybody.
That's good.
So I'm going to not be interesting for the next 5 minutes. I'm going to let you go outside and prepare.
Sure.
And we're going to continue on, and we'll come out in like 5 minutes or so. Or you can come and tell us when you're ready. Does that sound fair?
That's fair.
Okay, good.
Go in the kitchen.
All right. And
Thank
let me
you.
know if you need any help with anything.
No problem. Kitchen's this way.
All right, so now let's turn our attention to the other homework assignment
open
that
that
we had. Huh?
We
Oh,
didn't
that
get
might
that
help.
out.
Yeah, I know what.
So with the door open might help.
Huh?
Come get it on.
So much cooler.
Can I ask
Is
you,
it-
when you started doing your wealth building, when they were talking to you, this was like in what year? This is between 2001 and you
Troubleshooting one on
had to unplug and plug.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a huge difference right there.
Yeah, just having the door open helps.
It's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that was really helpful.
Were they training you from like 2001 until 2007?
When I intentionally turned myself to being trained, when it started for me was in 2005. So 2005 and 2006 is when I went through the course, if you will, that you guys are going through now. Okay, and I never knew what I was doing. Never. I never knew what I was doing. I never signed up for a wealth course. I never said, I'm living in scarcity. How do I shift it to abundance? I never said, let me find my unconscious limited beliefs. All I did every day and every week was whatever my guides asked of me, because I had a body of evidence that the things that they asked me to do always provided me benefit. Even though I never had any idea why I was doing anything. I have to tell you, I never had any idea why I was doing anything. The ignorance that I experienced, I look back on it now, I'm like, I don't even know how I got through a waking hour blindly every day. Okay, yes, I'll do that. Okay, yes, I'll do that. And along the way, I mean, man, if you could have a conversation with my guides, I was a stubborn brat. I mean, I'd be like, that doesn't make any sense to me unless you can tell me why, show me the evidence. I've been doing this for 3 days already, and I don't agree with you. You know what? You always said I can agree to disagree, and I disagree with you. I mean, I was horrible. And yet something always said, well, the last 3 things that they said did come true. And then I'd be like sheepish. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I promise you I'll do it this time. It was ridiculous. It was such a drama. And in hindsight, I look back on it and I look at the things that they did or the things that they asked of me. And the results that it had with me not even knowing what the target was. I didn't even know where I was going. I didn't even know why I was doing these things. And
But does it help to know why you're doing it and
now
what your
it
goals
does,
are?
because I hit pain and true agony that I don't want anyone else to have to hit.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key.
But
The
did
key
they
is
do
that
for you on purpose, though? I mean, it was purposely done to you that way?
because I'm an experiential learner. I can't tell anyone in anything in this room unless I know it within every cell of my being. So for me to have been told anything, or to say, here's where we're starting on September 6th, this is what it's going to look like, and by December 4th you're going to have this. If they had said any of that, I would have been like, come on, I got it. It's a slam dunk, no problem. Bring me in a class. Let's just get this done. So for me, I had to be blind doing it in order to engage in it and to experience it. I know I'm smart. I know I am. I don't know what that means, like a high IQ or anything. But a lot of times my aptitude, my intellect worked against me in this journey. Because being that smart and that logical, it's counterintuitive. It really is counterintuitive. So my aim is always to help anyone, whether they're left brain or right brain, to get to the same exact place, but without the suffering. You don't have to suffer along the way. Even, like, they didn't do this exercise with me, why am I living in scarcity? They didn't do this with me. You know, this is something that developed. What they did was just a day-to-day...
Because you did that to yourself, though, right?
Yeah.
So it probably was supplanted in your mind.
Exactly. They let the question emerge without being given the question. Okay? So after I'm looking at the 21-day logbook, they're like, oh, what do you notice? Is there any patterns? And I'm like, whoa, yeah, oh, well, why do you think that happened? It's like, oh, and I didn't even know what the goal was or the point. I just didn't even get it. And so it was hard. It was very, very, very hard. And if you follow, I know we're still only at day 2, but if you follow everything we do through the 4th day, it will change your life. It will change your life, but you just got to do it. You know, you got to do it. And the foundation of it is building a better foundation, which means oftentimes knocking down whatever your life is built upon, or at least studying each brick, each cylinder, and saying, is this a worthy, strong brick? Is this going to support what it is that I want to achieve in my life? And if it's not, you knock it out and you find a better one and you put it there in its place. Okay? Everything is built upon the foundation, and that's what the exercises that you did last time and this particular exercise were all about. All right, so now let's go to your other homework assignments. Everyone was asked to become mindful of their use of money. Okay? So over the last couple of weeks, even if you wound up only doing it for an hour or for a couple of days and then you got back into normalcy, what kind of things were you able to experience? What did you discover? What were your aha moments about your own relationship with money?
I feel like I kind of been doing this in my head before the class. I have a very mixed relationship with money. It's a love-hate, I'm sure we all have, but what really I think, I don't know if you can tell me if I'm right, what gets me in here is, since I was a little kid, the power of money over people and what they would do and not do dictated on how much or how little. And
Yes.
that's why I always wanted abundance, to not throw it in their face, but just like, here's the money, stop worrying, let's live life. And I didn't realize what that was until recently. And I don't know, like I love money. I don't actually like money, I just like the freedom it provides me. I just want to be free on this earth to experience what I want to experience with whom. And I feel money, I just feel financially imprisoned. I feel most of the things, I love paying my bills on time, it gives me a great feeling. But I feel that I'm just kind of paying and doing things out of almost obligation. You know,
Right.
the want is this big out of the budget.
Yes.
But I mean, if I really dissect everything, do I want a cell phone? You know, so it's like I start going with the mind, the logic, the left with the right, and I'm not fully sure, but I don't know. Can you share any insight?
Yeah, let me address this right off the bat rather than getting back to it, because it is important. Shall we?
Yep.
Yes? Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to pause here for a second.